Shelley Loving, what is on your fork, people? What are you eating? Shelley is a healthy food chef. Tragic incident 2014, her husband of 41, severe heart attack, perfectly healthy person, not overweight, exercise, no heart issues in his family at all. Super Bowl collapses. They just were able, the Widowmaker was able to save him. Doctor wanted to put him on 7 medications. It completely turned both of their lives around. Shelley now advocates healthy eating, simple changes in your life to healthy eating. Her book, What's on Your Fork, is wonderful. 100 gluten-free, dairy-free recipes, but she's got great videos in her social media, great content, just simple things. I start the conversation with inflammation and how these foods, these oils, these canola and these seed oils, how they're causing so much inflammation in our bodies, and just how you can reverse that. Great conversation on simple ways to make healthy changes in your food. Not go on a diet, but just change, make a true change in what you're putting in your mouth. But it's a great conversation with Shelley Loving. I know you're going to enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business? And it lasted over 25 years. Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Shelley Loving, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited to talk to you. Let's start with inflammation. Why is it so bad?
Well, not all inflammation is bad. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I feel like that word's getting thrown around a lot right now. And I just want to clarify, some inflammation is good. Acute inflammation is when we sprain an ankle or we get an infection and it turns red on a cut. That's acute inflammation and we need that. That's our body's response system to try to help heal that area. Now, the kind that we don't like and the kind that we should be very concerned about, and that I'm trying to bring a ton of awareness around, is chronic inflammation. That's that silent one. That's the one on the inside of our body that we can't see. And what happens is our bodies get chronically inflamed for a number of reasons. Some of them include stress, lack of sleep, poor diet, toxins in the air. Those things cause chronic inflammation in our body. We all have it. But what happens is our bodies can only fight the chronic inflammation for so long. Then when it gets tired and it can't fight it anymore, it raises this symbolic white flag and it says, I give up. I can't do this anymore. And that's when our body starts breaking down and our cells get weak. And that's when we get sick. We have heightened seasonal allergies. We get disease, chronic conditions, all of those things. Oh, I need to exit my email. All of those things cause chronic inflammation. And so it's our duty to keep that chronic inflammation at bay in our body as much as we can. We can't always control everything that causes it. But the one thing we have complete control over is our diet. And the one thing we have complete control over is what we feed our body every day. So I promote an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, and I do it all through food.
Perhaps an analogy can be drawn, Shelley, of, you mentioned, twisting our ankle and, injuring ourselves, and inflammation helps healing. But when you feed yourself food that's causes injury internally, it inflames just the same way?
You're exactly correct. But our bodies are not designed to stay chronically inflamed inside. Let me give you another analogy so you have a visual. When we're chronically inflamed inside, our body is fighting the inflammation. Our
Hmm.
bodies are designed to fight off things that come our way. You know, allergies, sickness, colds, flus, viruses, chronic conditions, all of those things. Our bodies are designed beautifully to fight those off. But when our body is spending all its time fighting the inflammation inside instead of those other things, it can't do both. So
Hmm.
it's our job to keep that chronic inflammation down so our body can do what it's designed to do, which is keep us healthy.
And is food medicine?
Absolutely. 100% yes. It can also be our worst enemy.
Mm. I love, I'm a big advocate. I don't like ketchup, Shelley. It's full of sugar. It dominates and you make a really good point. Hashtag no ketchup I put in my notes with you. And mayonnaise, by the way, because of the soybean oil, which again, I'm not a fan of. But so what foods should we be eating that reduces inflammation, that helps?
I love that question. So I love to promote an anti-inflammatory diet, but I think there's two parts to it. So you already named a couple of inflammatory foods, refined oils and such, but they're also foods that reduce inflammation. A lot of people don't get that part. They understand that
Mm.
there's foods that cause it, but they don't put focus on the foods that lower it. There are foods that fight inflammation for us. And so those are any foods that are rich in antioxidants. So berries, nuts, seeds, legumes, any cruciferous vegetable, those are going to be things that are going to go in our body, use it for good. Our body's going to use it for good, and it's going to help build the antioxidants in our body that will help reduce that chronic inflammation. So, antioxidants are what help build, they're the components in nuts, seeds, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. And what they do is they go in our body and they help make our cells strong. So, our cells
Mm.
can fight things off, right? So, it's important to incorporate an antioxidant rich diet in our body. And we're not getting that today in the standard American diet because we are inundated with processed foods that lack
Yes.
those antioxidant rich foods.
Yeah, one of your videos, you actually show a picture of like nuts in a can that have
Yeah,
been killed with seed oils and salt and sugar and all these things, and just buy the raw stuff, people, and just you can quick grill them yourself.
right, right. Just buy them raw and you can roast them so quickly.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
part of my I teach a lot of healthy meal prepping classes and courses, and that's one of the things I teach is in your meal prep every week, just roast some nuts and keep them in your
yeah.
fridge and you can do so many things with them, but stop buying the ones at the store. They have a lot of added salt and a lot of refined oils.
Let's talk about those. I mean, canola, those
Oh,
oils. Whenever I see them, it's just they creep me out because I get to talk to great people like yourself that explain that, but just the harm that it does the body. Let's talk about that.
yeah, so seed oils are made in a factory and they go through 9 steps. So these seed oils go through 9 steps to be ultimately end up in a clear plastic bottle with an eternal shelf life. Three of those steps are bleaching, three of them, which means they're going through a process multiple times and you have to bleach it. And then they have to deodorize it because it smells so bad, the human won't consume it. So those are 5 of the 9 steps to make a refined oil. So, needless to say, it is a foreign object, it is a chemical. Our bodies are not designed to digest it and or use it for good, but they use it in a lot of products because it's
Mm.
super cheap and it's easy to make, right? It's super cheap to make, and it's super cheap once they put it, as the ingredients into things like refined oils are in everything: crackers,
Right.
cookies, condiments, frozen foods, you name it, even nut butters. So it's just our job. One of the biggest things I teach in all of my classes and to all my clients is to read the ingredient list on every food you purchase at the grocery store. The less focus needs to be on nutrition facts because if the ingredients are good and solid and they're Shelley approved, then the
Mm.
nutrition facts are going to take care of themselves and we can stop all that counting of calories and carbs and all that. We really just need to get back to the basics of what's in the food, and refined oils should not be one of those things.
And canola oils, any of the seed oils, they all count. They're all towards the same category.
Yeah, to keep it simple for people, I just named the four or five popular ones. You have canola oil, palm oil, which is one you see in foods a lot, not necessarily on the shelf. And then you have vegetable oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil. All of those are highly refined oils and should definitely be avoided. And it's not just about cooking with them; it's they're in products that you're not
Right.
reading the label on, right? Yeah.
Isn't there some relationship with actual petroleum with some of those nuts too? Did those oils too? I heard at one point.
Probably. Yeah, I'm sure there are. I haven't done that research, but yes, I have heard that.
And when things are deep fried, every once in a while I have French fries like duck fat fries or something like that. But oftentimes canola oil is used for deep frying as well.
Yes, because it can stand high heat. So oils are heat sensitive. There are certain oils that you want to use over heat, and there's some oils that you don't. And those some like vegetable oil, canola oil, and peanut oil, they love high heat. So that's why
Mm.
often you will see people frying in them, but still not good for us, right? We want to try to avoid those oils as much as possible. That's one of the main reasons I try to stay away from fried foods is because 99% of the time they are fried in those oils.
Ugh. My father is from Southern Italy, so the Mediterranean diet, consists of a lot of greens, a lot of, olive oils, a lot of, small portions of meat. By the way, pasta, small portions only on Sundays. The Americans think they eat pasta all the time. When they do it, small portions, it's once, maybe twice a week, but it's a lot of greens. The Mediterranean diet, there's lots of studies on how beneficial that is for humans.
Absolutely. And the pasta's also homemade. They're eating the
Right.
real deal. They're not eating Skinner. They're eating
Mm.
real pasta made from real ingredients. So yes, I don't promote diets or dieting, but if I were to say if somebody told me, Shelley, you have to support one, it would be the Mediterranean diet for sure. It is as close to what I teach as possible. Yeah,
Yeah, and none of them consider they're on a diet. It's just what they eat. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
interesting to look at that. Yeah, and it's they live in small communities, and I remember I brought friends there pre-COVID, and we were sitting at one of my relatives' place, and they took some eggs out of the cupboard. And my
Yeah.
friend's like, "Oh, there's gonna be chickens in those." I said, "No, those just came from the farm. There's not gonna you don't have to worry about that." And like, "Why are the refrigerators so small?" I said, "Because they don't pack for months at a time. They eat whatever's available at the time. It's just a very different way of, they invented kind of farm to table that we
Mhm.
kind of had to learn that here a little bit differently."
I live in the country, and right now, my husband and I are traveling on a 2-month RV trip. So we've been in the
So
RV for a
cool.
month now. And my neighbor in the country has chickens, and I get all my eggs from her. And so I told her a month before we left, I said, I want 10 dozen eggs. Don't wash them, don't wash them, just bring. And so it's been 5 weeks and we are still eating on her eggs. They are in our cupboard and we made space for
Wow.
her eggs because it's so important to me to get good quality eggs, but they're okay. They can
Wow.
last up to 2 months as long as they're not washed and they come from a farm. They still have dirt
Interesting.
and feathers on them. It's great.
Yeah. So will washing them remove? Why not wash?
There is I forgot the name of it. I'm not a farmer, so forgive me. But when the egg comes out of the chicken, there is a film, there is a substance on it that protects it. And so as long as you don't wash that off and you don't, do anything with the egg, just let them be, they are fine for weeks. But when they come from the store, don't do that because they've already been
Right.
washed.
Yeah, they've been washed and who knows how long, and they've been refrigerated.
Right.
Yeah. And for a while they were expensive, but now they've come back down. I don't, all that kind of,
Yeah.
who knows
Silly.
who knows yeah, it really is silly. Now, the kind of three big things that that you kind of advocate, of course, seed oils, and you're big on dairy,
I
not
am.
consuming dairy. Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah. So I love giving this analogy because a lot of people just never, sometimes when, like Maya Angelou says, when you don't know, you don't know, but when you know better,
Mm.
do better. And this
Mm.
is what I learned in two nutrition schools. Dairy is inflammatory. No matter how you consume it, raw, processed, pasteurized, whatever it is still coming from a cow. And so
Mm.
there is a cow and there is a calf, and the calf is drinking that mother's milk to grow into a 1-ton animal in about 8 months.
Mm.
That think about that for a second. That liquid is meant to grow an animal into a 1-ton animal. That is the only purpose of that liquid. So now
Hmm.
as humans, we're consuming that multiple times a day, especially Americans, and we're consuming the processed kind, the processed cheese, everything at the grocery store is processed, right? So we're consuming yogurts and milk in our cereal and ice cream and cheese and sour cream and cream cheese. All of that is dairy. And so our bodies just get inundated with inflammation because it's trying to process this liquid that's meant for a calf.
Hmm.
So naturally, our body's going to get inflamed because it's just too much for our bodies to handle, especially in the quantity that us as an average American is consuming it.
Yeah, and plus they just add sugar and, it's
Yeah.
just, people don't realize how, they think milk is very natural. There's a lot of sugar in it, and I don't know if that's part of the pasteurization process, but it's, yeah, I so your thesis is that it inflames everyone, but perhaps not some more than others,
Yeah,
correct?
I believe everything is in moderation. So if you
Uh,
want to have a slice of cheese on the charcuterie board at the party with your
right.
girlfriends, go for it. But on Tuesday at 7 p.m., don't put cheese on your spaghetti. Don't
Mm,
put cheese on your salad at lunch. Don't be putting cream cheese in a dip recipe for dinner. Like let's kind of, in your kitchen when you're making meals and when you're eating out, try to avoid it. And then
mm,
save your weak moments, I call them, for those times when you're at parties or you're enjoying time with friends or you're on vacation. That's when you want to, let the reins up a little bit. I'm not about all or nothing. I believe
right.
that there are times for indulging. And so I just don't think that not cheese, I don't think dairy should be in our daily diet. It's not good for our bodies and it causes inflammation.
And, you mentioned salads, and I'll sometimes go to a restaurant with friends, and they're trying to watch what they eat, and they have a salad, but the salad, Shelley, is full of the. I know it's got canola oil dressing. I know the dressing's made with those seed oils. There's plenty of cheese. There's like taco shells in it, and it's I think the burger and the fries I'm having, calorie wise, is probably very similar. The idea that a big salad like that with the salad dressing is what the killer is on those things, right? And the cheese and things that they add on, and the nuts that already are drenched with the oils and with over salted and sugar. It's not necessarily a healthy choice, I guess, is my point.
Right, and the croutons that are fried in the
Croutons.
vegetable oil and, all the
Yes.
things. Bacon, all the
Yeah.
processed meats in it, bacon, ham,
Cheese. Yeah.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, you can construct a healthy salad at home.
Certainly.
I'm not one that promotes eating, rabbit food and starving yourself, but you can have a very hearty, delicious salad if you make it at home with the right ingredients for sure.
Yeah, when I make some salad for my daughters, I try to get some chicken, I get some great lettuce, and then I just get some great olive oil and vinegar, maybe a little salt and pepper, and whip it up, and
Love
there's
it.
the dressing. There's the dressing.
Love
I
it.
mean, you don't need sugar and all. Even going in the salad dressing aisle and just pulling one down and looking at those ingredients, people, why is anybody buying this? There's so much sugar. Those oils are just everywhere. But you actually mentioned Hidden Valley Ranch in one of your videos, by the way. I mean, that's which is a big seller, and it's so bad for you.
I am from Texas. I am a Texas girl, and we love our ranch dressing on
Yeah.
everything. And so my husband used to eat it on everything. And once I went to school and started reading labels, that was one of the most disappointing labels that we could have read because the first five ingredients are everything I'm against. So it's sad. So I have a delicious homemade ranch dressing. If anybody wants it, they can go to my website. But it's not food. At the end of the day, when you read the
Yeah.
label, there is nothing in it that is food.
Ugh. Yeah, yeah, you've got great recipes on your on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. You've got great content there. You walk through it. I was watching you make so many things. You've got great content there. And then the third, so the oils, dairy, and then just the American public
Sugar.
is addicted to sugar.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, sugar's super inflammatory. And we're not talking about anything sweet. People are not separating that. So raw local honey, pure maple syrup, coconut sugar, things like that are a-okay in moderation. We're talking about white refined sugar. So when you read a
Mm.
label and it says sugar in the ingredient list, that is white refined sugar. And I don't know if you know this, but sugar is a preservative. So when they put sugar in products, it's giving it a
Huh.
longer shelf life. So
Huh.
even if the product isn't sweet, like marinara sauce or ketchup is a good example, not real sweet foods, right? Well, they do it because number one, it's addicting, and number two, it's a preservative. So that's one of the main reasons you'll see sugar, like you said, in milk. It's definitely used as a preservative in some brands. So yeah, you just got to read those labels. But I am definitely anti white refined sugar. None of my recipes have gluten, dairy, or sugar.
Hmm. And you just struck a real chord with me. I mentioned my father's Italian. I'm very proud of the marinara I make, and there are some Italians that
Hmm.
put sugar in their marinara. It's onions and garlic and San Marzano tomatoes, and then just some spices. People, there you do not. It doesn't mean to be sweet. Need to be sweet. My 2 cents, but just the way sugar. And somebody said this in the '60s or '70s, they removed everybody was on these non-fat diets, so they took all the fat out and they just replaced it with corn syrup, and these replaces, and which are just horrible.
But yeah, definitely. Yeah, a low fat and no fat diet is so terrible, and studies are showing now like we need fat in our bodies, and so adhering to that, then it all that did back in the 80s is to create horrible eating habits. Then they created artificial sweeteners and all these zero calorie foods that have all these chemicals in them, and so the no fat diet has created an epidemic of bad eating habits, and it has turned into chronic health conditions and disease. And so it makes me mad because fat is what we need in our body. Did you know our brains are made of, I think, 65% fat? And so
Mm.
without fat, no wonder we have mental health issues and Alzheimer's and dementia. We're not feeding our brain
Huh.
what it needs to stay healthy, right?
Wow.
And also our gut health is important. But back to fat, we need fat in our diet. And I'm not talking about the fat from Oreos. We're talking about those good, healthy fats. And those no fat diets from a long time ago just really created some bad eating habits in this country.
That's absolutely amazing. So in 2014, your husband's 41, a traumatic incident happens. He has a heart attack. It turns both of your lives around.
Yeah. It's crazy looking back, 9 years later. What a blessing that
Mm.
tragic event was. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and he had we didn't know he was super. We thought he was healthy. He went to the gym 5 days a week. He was not overweight, and he has no heart disease history on either side of his family. So
Wow.
we were shocked, to say the least. And he had 100% blockage in his. They call it the widowmaker. It's
Goodness.
the left circumflex artery in your heart, and you don't feel the signs of a heart attack coming on. That's why they call it the widowmaker. By the time
Ah.
you feel the signs, you die. And so we're blessed. And now it's the platform for which I teach, because after that happened, I turned to food to heal him, because the doctor told him that his fate was going to be 7 medications for the rest of his life. And he said, no, it's
Wow.
not. He said, what? So he and I together said, what do we need to do to make sure that's not his destiny? And so I turned to food naturally. As a mother and a wife, my instincts kicked in, and I said, let's change what we're eating. I didn't think we were eating that bad, but let's give it a whirl. And I became so passionate about it because what I was doing was working. And so I decided to go to nutrition schools, two of them, to really hone in on what I wanted to learn and how I wanted my approach to be. And as I was implementing what I was learning in school and I was feeding him, I was eating it too, right? Because I was making the food.
Right.
I was in this journey with him. And what I didn't realize, Joey, is that I was healing myself too. I didn't realize
Wow.
I was also sick. And so when we both became healthy, and over time, it didn't happen overnight. This is not an overnight fix. It took years of discipline and the willingness to want to be better and be healthy holistically. My husband has now, 9 years later, completely reversed the damage in his heart. The cardiologist cannot even tell he had a heart attack in his EKG. And that's
Wow.
the doctor's words were, you are in the 1 percentile of my patients that do this. And so that was liberating for us to know what we were doing was working. So now, because of that, it's because we got a second chance at life together and he is still standing on this earth with me and we're able to have our days together. It is now my mission and passion to help others open their eyes and to help them get as healthy as they can be through food.
That's absolutely wonderful. 7 medications. They're so quick.
7.
Yeah, they're so quick to prescribe. I mean, that's what they're taught.
It's what they're
And
taught. That's what I like what
yeah,
you said that. A lot of people don't say that. Thank you for saying that because I'm not
right.
here to diss the medical industry at all. They
Exactly.
saved his life. However, they're not taught it. They're not taught nutrition in school. They are taught to sell drugs and they are taught to fix a problem and then mask it with drugs. So as humans, as Americans, it's our let's get the reins back on our health and start asking the questions and start doing the research and start healing from the inside out rather than just masking it with drugs. So thank you for saying that. I really love to encourage people to do their own research and to really dig deep on the root of the problem of what's going on with their health.
Yeah, because, without that surgeon performing that, your husband wouldn't have made it. So there's certainly a need for that. And, you know,
100%.
to to ask somebody to completely change their diet and to exercise more and to do these kinds of things, not everybody's going to do it. So look, we want to keep you alive. Here's 7 medications, and the other choice can be to do this, and that's what you decided to do. So you start on this journey, and then what's on the fork? You write a book.
I did. I did. I
Wonderful.
wanted to do it since the day I started my company. I wanted to write a cookbook, and I gave myself a 5-year goal, and I self-published and launched it on Amazon in 4 years. So I'm proud and excited because my heart and soul and my taste buds, everything is in that book. And it's more than a book, though. It really is like a food journal meets cookbook meets just love on a plate because it's anti-inflammatory recipes. There's over 100 meal ideas, but I just want people to feel my love and support in that book because every time they make one of those meals, they're feeding their body good, nutritious, and delicious recipes.
Yeah, you've got over 100, gluten-free, dairy-free meals, and you have a whole mix and
Yeah,
match section in the back where you're able to
I
kinda go
do.
back and forth. Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. But food journal is such a great motivator for people because
Yeah.
a lot of times, they're just snacking and what is the word? Grazing, right? They're grazing, they're going through the kitchen and then on the way to something they put just writing a food journal can help so
Mm.
much.
So much. If people follow me and they become a client or they join my online membership, and I encourage them, something I hear a lot when people start out, the words are, I really don't eat that bad. I hear
Mm,
that phrase hundreds of times a
mm,
month. And so what I
mm.
encourage them to do, I'm not going to call them a liar or call them out. I just want to encourage them, write it down because you're not thinking about, oh, the candy at the doctor's office. Oh, the Starbucks coffee in the carpool line when I pick my kids up. Oh, that Chick-fil-A at the drive-thru after the soccer game. They're not thinking about every time they put something in their mouth, the sugar, how about the artificial sweeteners in chewing gum? Like people aren't thinking about everything that they put in their body. So food journaling can be very powerful. And it's just a way for them to have all of their fingers pointing back at themselves whenever they write it down and they're transparent and honest with themselves.
Yeah, because everybody's got a friend who has a really bad diet. So they think, well, I'm not as bad as them. So I really don't eat that bad. And, after a week of food journaling and you look back and you say, wow, I had that many cookies and I had that many sodas and I had that many, it all really, really adds up. And
Yeah,
it's,
when you journal, it's not even so much about, oh, how much crap I'm eating. It's also
mm,
how many nutrients I'm not consuming. Like how many
mm,
people at the end of the night eat cheese and crackers for dinner and it's like where's your fiber? Where's your healthy fat? Where is your protein? Like you don't think about those things. So when you're eating little bits of everything every now and then, like you said, grab and go, grazing,
mm.
you're lacking nutrients. So your body doesn't know what to can't, do what it needs to do if you don't give it those proper foods. So it's not so much about trying to put blame on them for making them feel shameful for what the bad stuff they're
Right.
eating. It's more opening their eyes to show them what they're not getting and the
Mhm.
nutrients that their body is screaming for. So that's another powerful thing about food journaling.
Yeah, another thing is portion control. I went through this period where I was kind of weighing some of the meats out I was eating, and I said, "Wow, that's 8 ounces." People don't realize, especially after you cook something, what the weight is on food, and the journaling can help that as well. What is your take on intermittent fasting?
Oh, I get asked that question a lot. I am not for or against it. I promote it. I think there can be some health benefits as far as like blood sugar control and things like that. I have never done it. I have not needed to do it. I don't think that it just like any diet or food eating habit. I don't feel like you should jump on the bandwagon just because it's a bandwagon. I think that you should
Mm,
have reasons for doing it. I personally don't have a reason to need to do it, so I haven't tried it. I am not against it. I also think people may not be doing it correctly, so I think you should do your research and really learn
mm.
how to do it correctly and monitor things while you're doing it to make sure it's beneficial for you. But I'm not against it. I just personally haven't needed to do it, so I can't really talk too much about it. But I do know firsthand of people that it has really helped control their blood sugar.
Yeah, I started it, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago. I generally stop eating around 6, and then
Hmm.
I have never had a cup of coffee my whole life, so I don't drink anything. I just drink water in the morning, and then I generally don't eat till about noon, and I just find that I don't need 3 meals a day. 2 meals, even
There you
1
go.
sometimes is just enough, and I find that your body starts to panic a little bit, and starts, uh-oh, what's going to happen? And it makes me focus a little more, Shelley. It's just, I
Yeah.
use it to kind of focus a little bit. So it works for me. I've gone as much as about 28, 30 hours, but it helps me. So do you eat 3 meals a day?
I eat when I'm hungry. So
Ah,
I try to keep it simple. I try not to overthink it in my personal life. I'm busy. I have a lot more things to do than worry about what I'm eating all the time. But
mm,
so I eat when I'm hungry. Now, I'm also not a big meal person. When I sit down to eat a meal, my plate is not, the size of Nebraska, and I'm eating smaller portions. But you know what? 2 hours later, I might want some roasted almonds or something. I might
mhm,
want something else. So I listen to my body, and if I'm hungry, I eat. Sometimes I graze, but it's good, healthy choices. But I absolutely have a great relationship with food because I don't eat out of habit. I eat when my body, whether it's I get a little brain fog or maybe I'm
mm.
losing a little energy. It's not necessarily that my stomach is growling, but I have these signs. I know my body very well, and I know when I need to put something in my body. So I just listen to it. Sometimes I'll go 12 hours without eating just because
Mm.
I'm doing good. So I really try to stay in tune with my body and let it tell me what I need.
Yeah, that's so important to listen to your body because it'll tell you. It'll
Listen,
tell you. It'll tell you.
tells
And
you everything.
it does. Sometimes I work out and I just pushed it a little too much. And the next day I said, you know what? I'm too sore. I'm not going to work out today. My body
Same.
is just telling me. I'm, a man of a certain age. I'm 54 and I have to listen to my body. So Shelley, I always right, it's very germane to what we're talking about. I started my business back in the 90s and I wasn't paying attention to my diet. And before you know it, I got up to 340 pounds. Absolutely horrible. I've been an athlete my whole life, been around 190. And the doctor said to me after my daughter was born, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. I was pre diabetic, I was pre hypertensive. He said, so that's all it took. And so I just, turned everything around and I changed everything. I just a lifestyle. I wasn't going to do any diet. I'm just changing the way I eat food and look at the relationship with food. And I lost all the weight. And to this day, whenever I tell people this story, I just see it in their eyes. How'd you do it? What's the secret? And there's no secret. It's just discipline. The answer is discipline. How does
It is.
discipline play? It's really that simple. How does discipline play a role in your life?
Well, it didn't start with discipline. It started with my husband almost dying, and it everything changed. So my priorities changed. So then when I was determined that he wasn't going to be on medication his whole life, that's when the discipline kicked in. And now my discipline is more about I don't find as much joy in eating the bad foods anymore because I get
Mm.
more out of what the good foods do to and for me.
Mm.
So the weak moments are getting fewer and fewer because of my discipline of feeling great. I like feeling good. It's when you don't know how good you can feel until you feel good, which is
Yeah, yeah.
so kind of, I don't know how else to say that. You
Mm.
don't realize that you have brain fog until your brain fog's gone. So it takes it. That's where my discipline kicks in. Is that I chase can feeling good continually. So that's what keeps me going. And discipline is very important, but I do it out of joy because I know how good I feel and I know how healthy my husband and I are because of it. And then it also, I want to practice what I preach. I want to
Mm.
be able to help others. I feel like this is my mission in life now, and I passionately want to help others. And so my discipline is always backed by that as well.
That's absolutely wonderful. Just like after a good workout, you feel great. After I make
Yes.
myself, after I make myself a nice, spinach omelet, maybe I'll put, some chicken and, spices with no sugar in them. Don't add any calories, and they're good. And I make a really not, a nice breakfast, or generally not breakfast, a brunch kind of thing. I feel great. Boy, that's just great right there. It's fresh eggs, some spinach, and some of the oregano that I like, some of the spices I like, maybe some tomatoes. It's wonderful. And you just feel good after it. So the highs are much higher than the kind of instant gratification of the
Yes.
food pleasure of just eating something that you kind of want, but is not good for you.
Now, I will tell you, I'm very transparent, and anybody that chooses to follow me on social will learn that very quickly. I have those weak moments.
Me
I
too.
will eat I'll eat 5 or 6 spoonfuls of the dairy-free ice cream if I get a craving for chocolate. I will. I absolutely will. But those moments get fewer and fewer as I
Right.
stay more disciplined and remind myself why I'm on this journey, because the feeling good outweighs my taste buds every single time.
Yeah. And if anybody's listening saying, if you think I'm never gonna eat ice cream or cheese again, you're crazy. You
Yeah,
could
I don't
still
want
do it.
that.
It's just moderation.
Yeah,
It's just moderation.
right.
It's just
Right.
make that the exception, make
I
that
like to say 80, the 80-20
ah,
rule is what kind of
yeah.
what I tell people. And now people that are first starting out, I'd be happy if they're 65-35, but
Mm.
80% of the time, really be cognizant of what you're eating. Really try to get those nutrients in your meals. 20% of the time, save it for those moments. Save it for, we all have hormones. We all get stressed. We all have a life and go to parties and go on vacation. So save your 20% for those moments and then put a lot of focus on that 80%.
Yeah, I know people that go Monday through Friday, very disciplined and plenty of leafy greens, and then on the weekends, they splurge a little bit, and, there's eighty
A
twenty
little
right
bit is the
there.
key.
A
A
little
little
bit,
bit.
people. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. You have this great video on dark chocolate. The cacao, it's gotta be 60 to 65%. You actually show a brand that you kinda recommend. I think it was from Whole Foods. Dark chocolate's very healthy for you as well.
It is. I really make a lot of sweet recipes because I want to encourage people that you don't have to deprive yourself to be healthy.
Right,
We can
right.
still have sweet foods. We just need to be better at picking the right ingredients for those sweet food recipes. And so I do a lot of sweet recipes. It resonates with people. We all get a sweet tooth. So I want to be there for those people when they have those moments, and I want them to be able to whip something up in their kitchen that's going to serve them well and that they can keep in their freezer or fridge and just pull it out and have a snack whenever you have a sweet tooth. And it's
Mm.
okay. It's okay.
And you specifically mentioned, I think, honey. Is it coconut
Hmm.
sugar?
Yeah, so coconut sugar is it's a granular, just like white refined sugar, but it's straight from the coconut. So it doesn't raise that blood sugar as much, and you can substitute it one for one in any recipe that calls for white sugar. So all
Hmm.
you Pinterest people out there, if you have Pinterest recipes and it has white sugar in it, you can absolutely use coconut sugar instead.
Very nice. And how about like sugar
Yeah,
cane sugar? Is that refined still? I see it.
it is. It's still
It's
sugar.
still refined. It's still
Yeah.
refined. Yeah,
I mean, a
yeah.
little bit in small doses, just revert back to my 80-20 rule, but I wouldn't buy a product if like the first or second ingredient was cane sugar. So some people don't know this, but the ingredient list goes from greatest to least. You probably know
Right.
this, but a lot of people
Yes.
don't know this. So you want to focus on those first five ingredients on the ingredient list on a food label, because that's where most of the food, what the contents of the food are. So make sure that the first five are the most important. So no refined oils, no white refined sugar, and try to avoid gluten when you can. So those three shouldn't be in those top five ingredients.
I'll mention ketchup again. You see ketchup, it's like
Yeah.
tomato paste, and then the second ingredient is sugar. So that
And
means,
usually the third.
and yeah, and usually like fructose, yeah, high fruit, and then
Yep.
so other than tomatoes, sugar is the second. It's
And
just
water.
full, and oh, it's so it. I have a little pet peeve about that, and I just don't include it in my diet. Um, Shelley Loving, what motivates you?
Seeing people make change and really roll their sleeves up with me in their kitchen and do some of the work towards a healthier lifestyle. Something that sets me apart from most people that teach healthy eating is I don't just hand out recipes and meal plans. I roll up my sleeves. I do the work in the kitchen. I show you, I cook with you, I show ingredients, I explain the why behind the foods and the ingredients and the recipes. So that's what motivates me, is to I feel like I'm trying to start a path that hasn't it's not real popular, and
Mm,
I want to let people know I'm relatable, and I want people to know I'm willing to do the work with you, and it's doable and you can do it. So that's what motivates me, is actually seeing people do it with me in their kitchen, making those healthy meals, and just changing one thing at a time, and then
mm.
they'll reach out to me and say, Shelley, you don't know how much you've changed us. You don't know, like my husband got off cholesterol medicine, or I am no longer type 2 diabetic, or I've
Wow.
lost 65 pounds, and it's all done by just making very small changes in what we're eating and being aware of what we're eating. That's the biggest. So that's what motivates me, is seeing the change, what people see or people are doing by doing the work.
Yeah, you make it very clear that you don't have a restaurant. You're doing this,
Oh
you
no,
cook, yeah, you make it very clear in
don't
your
want one.
videos. Don't Yeah, you're cooking for your family. If friends come over, you're sharing these recipes in your books and in your videos with everyone, and it's just a healthier way to eat. You do such a great job. I was mentioning before, your energy and your passion is so evident and contagious. I absolutely love it. How do you
Thank
measure
you.
success?
That is a very great question. I have never been asked that question. Um, I, for me personally, my success is going to see the change in people and to
Mm.
see people know better and do better. That is success for me. Of course, I don't do it for free. Of course, I would like to to make money at doing this, but it's not why I started, and it's not my mission. So success for me is watching and seeing the change in the people that do the work and from what I'm teaching. And I want to be an inspiration, and I want to know that I'm there to support them all the way. And so that's what success is for me, is to actually see people improve their health through food that I've taught them how to eat and cook.
Mm. Ah, how wonderful. I know that when I have friends that are doing well, and if I just had a 0.5% of influence on it, it just, it's even all the better. And what you're doing is so important because the politicians don't talk about it. We don't. Every once in a while, obesity and overweight is brought up in our country, and the food industry is what it is, and we're a capitalist society, but it's not expensive to eat healthy. People have a bad perception of that. The outside of the we all hear about the outside of the grocery store, that everything's processed in the middle, but you know just eating healthy. If you buy vegetables, eat them right away, get some more vegetables, and just incorporate it, small portions of meat, and you've got great recipes. I love what you're doing, and it's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. How can we get in touch
You're
with you?
welcome. Well, before I tell you that, I want to thank you, because what you're doing is wonderful. And what you're doing is allowing me to have a platform to share my message with as many people as I can. Because even if you just have one listener that I resonate with, and it opens their mind to change and to really be aware of what they're eating, my mission is complete. So thank
Mm.
you for having this amazing platform for me and other guests to share our message so that we can help more people. So thank you for that. You can find me everywhere on social. It's at Shelley Can Help, and that's Shelley, Shelley, can help. And that's me everywhere. My website is Shelley Can Help. And then you can, if you want to purchase my cookbook with anti-inflammatory meals for everybody, you can go to Amazon, and it's called What's on Your Fork. Thank you so, so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. You are a wonderful, wonderful person to talk with.
You are incredibly inspiring, Shelley. Thank you. And you're on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, you're on TikTok, all at Shelley Can Help. I'll put it in the show notes. And thank you so much for your time. And maybe one day we'll get together, your husband and I, and my happy girlfriend, and have some healthy meal together. And I look forward to it. You be so well, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening and/or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information. The video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.